Bonjour à tous, aujourd'hui nous allons improviser un canon à l'unisson.
The antecedent of this canon, which means the first voice, will be improvised by Lise, whereas the consequent will be sung by Mary. Our improvisers of the day have chosen for their canon the lyrics of the song L'amour de moi s'y est enclose. How to improvise a canon in unison. Let us point out first that it is easier to achieve if the consequent, the one that repeats, sings one beat after the antecedent, the one that improvises. In our examples, we will give each beat the value of a semibreve, as is indicated at the time of the Renaissance by the si barré sign. Thus, in a single beat canon in unison, if the antecedent starts, for instance, on an A, the consequent will start on the same A on the following beat. Hence, we can imagine which note the antecedent will sing on the second beat. This note will have to be consonant with the A. For instance, the antecedent can stay on the same note, which will create a unison with the consequent, but he or she can also rise by a third, which will produce an interval of third, or else he or she can rise by a fifth to produce a fifth, or a minor sixth, or an octave. But he or she can also go down, for instance by a third, but also by a fifth or else an octave. Please note that the descending melodic sixth is not in use at the Renaissance. This diagram sums up the melodic intervals that the improvising antecedent can make from one beat to the next. Let us examine the intervals used by Lise in her canon on L'amour de moi. A unison, a descending fifth, a unison again, a rising third, another rising third, a failing third, a unison, a failing third, then a cadence, which we shall examine later. Let us now listen to the outcome when this melody is repeated as a canon in unison. As you have heard, it would be appreciated if you can ornament your canon. To this effect, the improviser, from one beat to the next, can resort to simple ornamental phrases, usually formed with conjunct degrees. For instance, the melodic unison can be ornamented with embroideries from above or below. The third can of course be filled up with a passing note, either quick or slower. Lastly, we must remember to liven up the unisons with various rhythms. For example, by repeating a note, or by holding it to make a long note, or else by starting on the upbeat. Let us consider a few examples of ornamentation in an excerpt from her song in canon. Finally, a word about cadences. To end a musical sentence, the antecedent can merely hold a long note and wait for the consequent to join him or her naturally in a unison through the interplay of the canon. Then, the two partners can also agree to put the canon briefly on standby to reach a cadence that strings together minor third, unison. To do so, they have to follow a prearranged procedure, such as the improvising antecedent, using a 3-note cadence from Euler, introduces a syncopation by repeating the first note. By a sign of the hand, he warns the consequent of the start of the syncopation. The latter then signs on the middle beat of the syncopation, the second above the antecedent. From then on, the consequent only has to achieve a so-called tenor cadence by moving down 1 degree. Let us see an extract of our canon and examine the cadences.
Et maintenant, à vous de jouer!